Pop your hands down, man. It's alright. No one's going to be cold. If this toffee even gets on your skin, you're going to have a nasty, nasty blister before you have a chance to go running under the tap. So you do have to be very, very careful. The other thing, of course, with toffee is that once it sets, it's very difficult to clean. So you want to do the dishes straight away. If you get it soaking in hot water, wipe off the rim where you poured it out. The toffee will just dissolve. The dishes do themselves, which is my favourite kind of dishes. All good. Then we'll bring this over. Pop that on, ready for the next demonstration. Okay, so as I said, folks, pour this out at about 160 degrees. Very, very hot, very dangerous. I don't want to touch it, I'll get a nasty burn. However, if I get this scraper and put the topping over, you can see there's a nice solid skin on the underside, and that skin I can use by being very careful to play around with the topping and flip it over itself. That being said, I like to be extra careful, so I always work wearing a pair of modern gloves. These gloves, of course, were not available back in the 1850s. We used to use something called a poor man's glove or a confectioner's glove, and that is quite simply a light coating of flour covering your hands. You just dunk your hands in the flour. That gives you a couple of seconds of insulation against the heat of the toffee. So you'd be constantly reapplying the flour to your hands as you work. I will say we used to use wheat flour. We use rice and corn flour these days. Works just the same. More people can eat them. So just that little change. I'm going to keep this toffee away from the edges. And then I've actually got one more ingredient that I need to add before this becomes a proper raspberry drop. And that ingredient is here in this bowl. Does anybody know what this is? What was that, sir? It is not, but I've never had somebody guess that before. There you go. It is indeed citric acid. Packaging there, that. So it is indeed citric acid, is the sour component of our lollies. A teaspoon of citric acid is just like sucking on 20 lemons at the same time. However, this batch is going to make about 2,000 lollies, so I might have to use just a little bit more than a teaspoon. Now, if you want a really sour lolly, citric acid is very sour. You mix it with the sugar though, it ends up becoming a nice, slightly tangy lolly. This amount for a raspberry drop. A citrus lolly, like an acid drop or an orange drop, has about another half scoop in there, so it's a little bit stronger. But if you want a sour lolly, we now have a sour grape, and that has 3 whole scoops of citric acid in it, so it's a bit more powerful there. Probably not the most sour lolly you've ever had, but they're a bit more up there, which is very nice for those of you with sour too. Now my job for the next few minutes is to play around with this toffee, make sure to keep it moving. I want to let it cool down at a consistent rate, and of course I also want the citric acid to mix through. But while I'm waiting for the toffee to cool down, I'd like to talk to you all a little bit about the history of Brown's Confectionery, which is the business we stand in today. And I did welcome you today to Brown's Confectionery, not Sovereign Hill Confectionery. There's a good reason for that. We are very, very proud of this here business. Brown's Confectionery is a very special business in Sovereign